trying to ask.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
This is compliments of who?
Why, Bob?
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
At least I could do.
We got your vote. We have a vote for you now.
Thank you.
Yeah, we.
I'm not gonna run for council ever again.
Okay, I apologize, we're good now.
Thanks,
Good.
Bob.
Sorry.
Okay, we'll get back to the general election. Well, as I said before, we got the official list of candidates for federal offices and state offices from the Secretary of State yesterday, so I was able to place the ballot order. So that usually takes probably, well, it depends on how many other orders, as I'm sure they're being inundated, so, but once they get me the proofs and we verify that everything is spelled correctly and in order, it'll probably be about 2 weeks before we get the ballots.
Don't you have to publish the ballot sometime? Or
That's
do you-
not till closer to the election. We have to publish the notice and a sample ballot.
Yeah.
Either four, the minimum 4, but the most 20 days ahead of time. But we have gotten to the point where we put it on our website too, so it's on there all the time. And then plus, we always post all of our sample ballots on the website too. So if you know what precinct you live in, you can always look at that ballot to see what the ballot order is. So once we get those, UCAVA voters is all of your military and overseas voters. We have to send them their packets by September the 19th. So they're the only ones that get to vote earlier than anybody else. But October the 5th is the first day that we can mail absentee ballots, and it's also the first day that in-person voting begins. So I hope anybody that has requested an absentee ballot to be mailed does not show up at the office the first day. And so far, as of last night, we have had 4,765 requests, so it's moving right along. Our drop box can be used. The thing that came from the Secretary of State's, it was actually on, it was like a public radio or something like that. They said that as long as the box is on county property, it is okay, it's good to go. I think they were having issues because some boxes were in parking lots and stuff like that, but ours is next to the courthouse, it's anchored in concrete, it has a security light above it, and it also has cameras focused on it. And we pick it up at least 3 times a day, and during the election, up to 5 times a day, so they're okay with those boxes now, as long as it's on county-owned property. And like I said, ours is next to the courthouse. Request forms, I know there's a big issue with 3 counties that sent request forms to all active voters, and they put more information on those request forms that they sent out than what the Secretary of State or legislators allowed us to do. So that's what got recalled there. So everything that has come out of our office, we only mail a request form out if somebody asks us, they call us and ask. And all of the other request forms that have gone out have been through voters' participation and a couple of other entities or groups, organizations. And they did add people's names and their addresses, but I just want to remind everybody that there's still additional information on there that still needs to be filled out before they mail those back. So everybody's going to get several forms in the mail. The Secretary of State's office is going to mail theirs out, I believe, next week. It was going to be at the end of August, but they pushed that back to Labor Day week. So everybody will get a form from them, and we get duplicates, and as long as they fill one out and they mail it into us and we receive it, that's all that they need to do. There's a website that they can check. They can go on either on ours or the Secretary of State's website to find out if we received their request form and when the ballots will be mailed, and once they vote their ballot and return it, that it has been returned. It shows those 3 things on that site, and it's track your request form, or track your ballot, and that's at sos.iowa.gov. And then over on the right hand side there's elections, and it says track your absentee ballot. You can go in there and it asks for certain information, and then everybody can see when we got their request form, when the ballot was mailed, and when we received it. So And now we're down to poll workers. We've received a lot of interest, but we still need some Republicans. We've gotten a lot of Democrats that have shown interest, but we're still trying to decide how many precincts we can have open, if we've got enough we've got a couple of the small rural locations that it's hard to get people out in that outer area to be poll workers, so whether we will be combining those with others, we're still looking at that, and there may be one in Burlington that we combine too. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I can determine and set my precincts, because I have to do that before I can generate our ballots through our voting registration system and everything else. So just plugging away and working on all of that. And sorry, Brian.
So I still need to call on him?
You can. Hopefully he keeps it short this time.
There's no time left.
Thanks. Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you.
Call on IT.
Just keeping busy, nothing to report.
Jack, maintenance.
Morning, busy. I'm sorry about the texting, but I'm trying, we got several things going on at the jail. I need people, different places that we have to be with. With being short one, it's kind of hard, but we're managing at the moment anyway.
Thank you. Janelle Nally-Longquist, Moines County Treasurer.
Good morning. We're just keeping busy, collecting taxes and processing motor vehicle transactions. Nothing new to report.
Thank you. Brian, secondary roads, keep it short.
Good morning, Mediapolis Road's still closed, hopefully next week. It won't be this week when the sounds of it to open up. Contractor started on the shop site on Iowa City Road, and the Stars Cave intersection project will start up this week if they stay on schedule. They were planning on starting Thursday. And like I said, that will still remain open, but it'll be one lane. And I guess I also should mention that eventually, in the latter couple stages, it'll also be one lane on Irish Ridge, which is probably the bigger impact to the area because people, you know, there's a hill right there as you come right into Burlington, and people kind of sort of like to fly through there. So it'll be a one lane to keep the workers safe while they work on that concrete as it ties into the Irish Ridge intersection. So that project will be starting up hopefully this week if they hold the schedule they talked about last week. So and that's daily construction doing that work. So.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Ken Hyman, Community Services.
Good morning. Had a really good meeting with the Sheriff's Department, Sheriff's Office on Friday, and I might just hit some of the highlights I talked with them about. Community, the Mobile Crisis Response contract has started in Jefferson, Keokuk, Louisa, and Washington counties. So we're starting mobile crisis response, a mental health professional going out to help people in need in those 4 counties. It hasn't started in Des Moines County, but hopefully by July 1, we hope that Lee County and Des Moines County and the other 2 counties will have mobile crisis going. We're kind of in phase 3 of the rollout of mobile crisis. So we got a little time before it's here in Des Moines County. BHAT continues at the hospital, and we have talks with them about 23-hour observation and holding program being considered for next year. Very similar to the BHAT now, but it would be Medicaid-funded program if they switch to that. So we're talking with them about that, trying to make plans in that direction, hoping that all falls together. River Cross, the new dual diagnosis RCF program, hasn't started yet, but we expect, last Thursday they said maybe September 9th they might be able to start that program. So sometime in September I think it's going to get going. It's still an RCF licensure facility, but its main focus is going to be helping people with mental health and substance needs. So that's very much needed and should get off the ground here pretty soon. Both crisis stabilization homes as of Friday are full, so the 5-bed home in Burlington, the 5-bed home in Fairfield are both serving the maximum capacity of people at this moment, and people come and go, you know, but they're staying very busy. We've got a subacute contract with Southern Iowa Mental Health in Ottumwa, so we're still trying to figure out transportation back and forth to that and talking with SIAC and working on that. CIT officers, the crisis intervention training, they're doing a great job for our region. The next CIT training, I think, is coming up in like October, so that's continuing. Alan Brady's doing a good job with that. So we have a great group of officers and other mental health professionals to work with, and it's just great to be part of the team. So that's all I have for today.
I saw an email, are they discussing doing that training virtually?
CIT?
Yeah,
I'm not sure, Alan.
I'm not sure you can do that.
Yeah, the hard part would be the what do they call it? Just the interaction back and forth with those.
That's the deal.
Yeah, that's a big part of the training is those. Just as if you were helping a person with mental health needs. They kind of do that one-on-one, and I don't know how they would do that online.
Yeah, I don't know how you get the feel of dealing with somebody on the streets.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah.
Bob?
You're talking about the hospital. What is BDAT?
Oh yeah, Behavioral Health Assessment Team.
Thank you.
So yes, they're a team of nurse and mental health professional. They have had substance counselors in the past, but they help decide. They do they do a screening, what's called a screening, to determine if a person needs inpatient, outpatient, or the crisis home. So it's a very good 24-hour service at the hospital where people can just walk into the ER and get screened for what they need.
Thanks, Ken. Kevin Glendenny, Des Moines County Sheriff's Office.
Good morning. We sat down with Ken last week and went over some of our resources in mental health, and I just thank him for that, kind of getting us all updated on what's out there and the options available. Also, Angie and Lisa are helping us with some training, just getting our normal annual training and then some, just getting updates on a lot of our training areas. So thank you to them. We're also, we're hiring. We start opening up our hiring process, looking to add at least one deputy sheriff. So if you know any great man or woman out there that's looking to be a part of a great organization, please send them our way. We'd love to have them. Our application deadline is October 1st. The jail population, we're currently at 66. It sounds like Oakdale is going to, they shut down, they didn't stop taking inmates for a bit due to COVID, but they're gonna open back up on Thursday, and we have 5 going out. So our population has kind of been holding right there in the 60s for a while.
That was the second time they've shut down this summer, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
They're opening it back up, okay.
That's all I have.
Thanks, Kevin.
When you haul 5 prisoners up there, do you get a van or
Yeah, no, they'll take them 2 at a time.
2 at a time?
Yeah.
Angie Vaughn, Safety.
Good morning. I really don't have anything to add, just been keeping busy and doing what we do.
Thank you. Lisa Schaefer, Des Moines County Attorney.
Good morning. 2 weeks from today, we get started on jury trials, assuming something crazy doesn't happen. Mr. Chelf will be doing the first one here in Des Moines County in about 8-9 months. So some of the training we're doing for the SO is we have a lot of new deputies. We're also bringing in West Burlington, who has a lot of new officers. It's a training on how to testify and how to get ready to testify. Now that we're gonna be up in the swing of things again, we wanna make sure all those new folks aren't too scared and have some idea of what to expect when they're put in the hot seat. And yes, that is what we call the witness stand, the hot seat. We met last week with maintenance and IT regarding our new audio-visual system that we plan on putting in the 3rd floor courtroom. Unfortunately, I think with COVID, they made it pretty clear that electronic communication equipment is a little hard to come by these days, since everybody's trying to do Zoom and everything else, so we know there's gonna be some lead time. But I think I'm looking forward to the estimates. I'm not sure yet. I guess we'll see when we get them, but hopefully sometime this fall we'll be able to get that up and running, and that will help us with our jury trials. We're trying to make sure that it fits what we're doing now with COVID, but yet once hopefully, we go back to some sense of normalcy, that it'll also work well with what we more customarily see in our courtrooms. Still working on hiring our open position. As I stated last week, it's a difficult time. It's just a hard position to fill. And I'm guessing during COVID makes it even more difficult. But we're still working on that, and then we have a couple of agenda items.
Thanks, Lisa. Did I miss anybody? We got online. Yeah, I got Janelle, yeah.
First one would be Krista Pogamiller, Des Moines County Public Health.
Krista Pogamiller, Local Health.
Krista, are you there? I'll skip her for a moment. I'll move on to Gina Harden, Emergency Management.
Gina Harden, Emergency Management.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to let you guys know that this is September 1st, and obviously, but this is also National Preparedness Month. So we'll be putting out some news releases on a weekly basis, trying to get people to look at being prepared. A kit, having a plan for their family, making sure they can communicate with others, etc., things like that, things we normally talk about, but know that people don't always do. Trying to encourage them to be prepared if they do get COVID or one of their family members does get COVID and they have to quarantine for 14 days, making sure they have enough supplies, food and medicine to stay home for that time period. So we're working on that at this point. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Gina.
Jackie Meyer, Clerk of Court.
Jackie Meyer, Clerk of Court.
Good morning, everyone. I don't have a whole lot new to report. We're just keeping real busy, and as Lisa Schaefer had mentioned earlier, it is 2 weeks from today for our first jury trial here in Des Moines County. So the whole office staff, in addition to the judges, have been working diligently, getting ready for that, and preparing on what that looks like to keep all the folks safe. And I'm excited and to get that started again, and the wheels of justice to move. So that's all I really have.
Thanks, Jackie.
Rodney Bleasner, Des Moines County Maintenance.
Rodney Bleasner, Maintenance.
Good morning. You guys are doing a really good job of keeping up with things, but other than that, I have nothing new to report.
Thanks, Rodney.
Zach James, Land Use.
Zach James, Land Use.
Good morning.
Morning.
A couple things. We've been very busy the last couple weeks. Had a lot of subdivision, floodplain development applications, and a couple zoning permits as well, either locations that came in or just kind of working with applicants to fill out the forms to get the necessary materials they need. So it's been a lot of people the last few weeks, and although slow down a little bit here for us, but a lot of activities lately. We continue to get through updating the zoning subdivision floodplain ordinances. We're actually getting pretty close to having a lot of the things wrapped up that we wanted to work on. And we've scheduled a zoning commission meeting for September 15th, where we're going to present a lot of these changes. There's things that we've already kind of discussed with the commission up front, but they haven't seen the actual changes in the ordinances. So this will kind of be a chance to go over a lot of those things again and address with them what those changes are going to look like. And then we'll give them some time to kind of review it on their own and give us some comments. So hopefully be wrapping that project up here over the next month or two. And then the only other thing I was going to mention is the Des Moines County Hazard Mitigation Plan that we've been working on with Gina. They did have a conference call with FEMA a few weeks ago, basically some comments that they had, and we are addressing those comments. And as of right now, we're going to plan to present the final plan to you guys next week, in short, maybe next week. So hopefully that's coming to an end here soon, and we'll be wrapping that up as well. That's all I've got for now.
Thanks, Zach.
Coming back to Chris, it sounds like she was on the phone, so. Chris Poggemiller, Des Moines County Public Health.
Krista Poggemiller, Local Health.
Krista, are you there?
Krista, if you want to kind of butt in at any time you get the phone working, feel free to give us a call or beep Cobbin or however that works. And we'll proceed to the, Krista will have most of the information on the COVID-19 update, although I did see that the rate of infections going down to Des Moines County. It's gone from, it was over 15 where the schools were at, and I believe it was 11.7 or 11.8 this morning, so that's good. And the Emergency Operations Center that we initiated when this started had been meeting once a month, and we're gonna meet again this afternoon and probably do it once a week, maybe for at least this month, since it things had fired up a little bit.
According to the Hawkeyes.
Krista,
I'm sorry, can you hear me now?
we can.
Oh, wonderful, sorry about that, I'm having some problems with my phone. So, we continue to be busy at Public Health. Currently, we've had 569 positive cases with 149 recovered. And I think, Tom, you kind of talked about our 14-day rolling positivity rate coming down. Today it was 11.7%. So definitely working with the community, doing that contact tracing and trying to bring down those numbers. And I do have a couple of agenda items.
Thank you, Krista.
Thank you.
Correspondence. Either of you gentlemen have any correspondence?
I have none.
Looks like I've got quite a bit of it. We got a letter from Sarah Sandberg, the office of the Burlington Airport. Says we are trying to get this information circulated. Southeast Iowa Regional Airport, Burlington, Iowa, is accepting applications for an airport administrative manager. Nature of the work includes administrative management of the airport, coordinating, monitoring, and performing office operations and airport facility operations to ensure airport requirements are sufficiently met. Perform special assignments and projects as directed. A full job description may be found out at http://fly/backslash/about-us/. Anyway, there's a phone number here, Sarah Sundberg, 319-754-1414. I hope she didn't mind I shared that, she sent it. That's, apparently they're trying to, someone hired. And we've got a little missive from the FEMA. Anybody like to hear me read all this?
I move you not read all that.
Anyway, on March 27, 2020, the Department of Homeland Security's Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, provided your community with revised preliminary copies of the flood insurance rate map and flood insurance study report for Des Moines County, Iowa, and incorporated areas. FEMA has posted digital copies of these revised FIRM and FIS report materials to the following website: www.fema.gov/preliminary flood hazard data. There will be a notice posted in the Federal Register and in the Hawkeye on or about September 3rd and September 20th, or September 3rd and September 10th of 2020. There's a 90-day appeal period. If you think this, if you're a property owner and you think this affects any property you might have. Zach, I know you're there, so, Zach?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, anyway, so typically, you would be the ones that would receive a call from anybody. Do you send out notices to some landowners?
Yeah, so what we did back in 2018, when they initially had these maps come out, and then FEMA had some public meetings, we published something in the paper, posted some stuff on the county website, and then we went through using GIS and pulled out any property owners that we thought would be directly impacted, either positively or negatively, or maybe they were coming out of a floodplain or having floodplains added to their property, and sent direct mailings to them. And so they were invited to those meetings back in, I think it was December 2018. And I think, I haven't read that whole packet yet, Tom, I haven't seen it yet, but I'll probably pick up a copy of it here. I think he said there was one made in our mailbox.
There is.
But we'll evaluate that again, and we'll get some information up on the county website, and then if it seems necessary, we can send out some notices again to impacted property owners.
Okay, thank you, Zach.
You're welcome.
You'll enjoy reading it. We'll proceed to discussion and vote. We have accounts payable in the amount of $796,697.90.
Move to approve.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Bob Beck.
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have a Class C liquor license for the Barn on the Ridge Smith wedding for September 10th, 2020.
We have much trouble from that place.
No, I think they're okay.
I move to approve.
Second.
Terry?
Bob Beck.
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Tom Broker.
No. Yes, I'm sorry. Sorry. Having a little fun.
Like you picked on Kevin.
I enjoy it.
Okay, we have personnel actions. We have two for the correctional center. We have Holly Carpenter, a full-time correctional officer, 2 days of unpaid leave, August 28th and August 29th of 2020, 16 and a half hours. And we have Seth Dixon, a new hire, full-time correctional officer, new rate of $38,706.18.
Move to approve both.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Bob Beck.
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Personnel action for the county attorney's office. We have Ryan McCord, termination, effective August 28th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Terry?
Bob Beck.
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. For the engineer's office, we have Eric Marshall, a seasonal worker, termination, I assume he went back to college or back to school.
Yes.
Effective August 19th.
Move to approve.
Second.
Terry?
Bob Beck.
Yes.
Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes.
Carter, that means you're gonna have to go back to work all your cheap
know.
health left.
I know. The easy life's over.
And we have two for local health. We have Bridget Davis, a nurse, unpaid leave, 53.08 hours, and Cindy Clank, a part-time secretary, terminated the grant the grant ended.
Move to approve both.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. And we have one for the sheriff's office, Dylan Beard, 36-month anniversary, deputy. Previous rate was $57,931.07. The new rate is $60,980.11.
Move to approve.
Second?
Terry?
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. How's Dylan getting along with our dog?
He's doing amazing.
Is he?
Just did some sustainment training over in, the Othello area where we got the dog from, and he's back again and doing well.
And he'll be doing a refresher course, about every 6 months for a while on that?
So because we got the dog at a younger age, they do what they call sustainment training, where he goes 2 days every month.
Every month.
Yep, and that's kind of, the handler makes sure, the trainer makes sure that the handler and the dog are progressing as he wants to see him and maintaining that level. It's some pretty intense training, actually. The gentleman that puts it on is, he's an intense individual, so it's going very well.
Good.
And next year, in year 2, he'll go 1 day a month.
We have a report from the Southeast Iowa Regional Riverboat Commission for July 2020. This will be on file in the auditor's office and available for public review, either in person or electronically. We have minutes for the regular meeting of August 25th, 2020.
Move to approve.
Second?
Terry?
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have a closed session to discuss possible litigation for Iowa Code 21.5, paragraph 1, paragraph C.
Move to go on closed session?
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. Retire to the other room.
I move we go out of closed session.
Second.
Terry?
Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
Bob Beck,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We, no discussion, but there was no decision made on the pending litigation. Other business,
I have none.
future agenda items.
Have none.
Committee reports.
I did. And CCFSA meeting, which is the Community College and the Fair Board. Met, discussed the fair, which, other than the animal show, was pretty much non-existent, but they were pretty happy with how that went along. Of course, the campground was half full, not half
It
full.
wasn't half full, it was, maybe a third full, maybe.
At any rate, it went on, and we got along all right. I haven't heard any outbreaks yet. Livestock is okay. Well, maybe, maybe there's been digestion. That thing got with me.
I had a Mississippi Valley meeting with the Iowa workforce, and I think we're getting close to having a Title I youth director, but we won't know until our next month's meeting. And, so that's what I had.
Did not have any committee meetings. Public input. If anyone from the public would like to address the board, you may email the Board of Supervisors at BOARD, that's board@dmcounty.com, board@dmcounty.com, or call 319-753-8203, extension 4. That's 319-753-8203, extension 4. We will hold that line open for 2 minutes, and if anybody wants to address the board in either manner. Is there any, as long as we got the sheriff here, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, sir, I'm good, thank you. Thanks, Brad.
On that CARES Act, I assume that all that court stuff is in there.
Court stuff.
If you don't mind.
Oh, you mean where we talked about
Yeah.
CARES Act?
It's got my cell phone in.
This is a nice thing. Gina, is there anything you'd like to address before the work session?
No, I just came over for the work session.
Okay, that's fine. Is any comments anybody here would like to make? Now, the CARES Act, it's, they're, of course, no offense intended, lawyers wrote it, so. You can read it 4 times, which I did, and each time come away with a little different feeling on a couple of things.
That's job security.
We have to do that so you continue to need us to interpret what we told you.
They were obviously not prosecutors, we like to keep things simple.
What, I think I told you that, last week they had a webinar on that, and it lasted an hour. And I tried to watch it, and it was, they started about entering these into the book, and I zoned out a couple times. Once it got past the board supervisors needed to do that, I was trying to pay attention. And, my attention span fluttered a little bit.
When I was in the Captain's Association, we went to
I think that's all.
a deal up at Iowa State where the professors or doctors were putting together some programs for drugs. And we sat through most of that. It was way here. And of course, some of those guys get in contact with me. So why the heck are you guys here?
Not by choice.
Yeah.
Okay, apparently we have no public input. With an aye, we are adjourned.
Belgian home.
We will have a work session in about 5 minutes. Ready to go? Okay. We have a work session, the Board of Supervisors, local health, the Auditor's Office, and Emergency Management regarding the CARES Act funding. So, Krista, are you there?
Yeah, here I am. Can you hear me okay?
We can. You guys, can you guys hear? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Krista, do you want to start since?
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
See you guys later. Thank you. Thanks, Terry.
Would you like to start, Bob, or Bob? I'm sorry, Krista. Let me start again. Would you like to start, Krista?
Sure. So it was probably about 4 weeks ago that we got notification there was going to be some CARES funding that would go through to the counties and the cities. And for Des Moines County, the amount was $494,023.50. When we started with this semester, we thought it was going to be more grant-based. But since then, more information has come out, and it looks like a lot of the work is going to go to Terry, the auditor's office, because it's actually, instead of having to write through a grant, it's actually, there's a portal that they're going to be submitting claims into. And I know we can talk about some of the ways that the funding could be utilized, and one of the ways that they have in the funding information was to use 25% of public health and public safety payroll expenses from March 1 to September 30th. And so Terry and Kathy Titus was kind enough and helped me out with getting some numbers for that. So projecting the numbers for public health and public safety from March 1 to July 31st, growing at 25%, we're looking at about $330,000, $382.54, and then we're projecting an additional $132,153 from August 1 to September 30th. Did also get some information from different departments. I know we had talked about reaching out to the hospitals and the schools and see if there was a need for them as far as any to be a subrecipient. I've done some more work through ISAC, and then at the hospital is actually not able to be a subrecipient, but schools are. So did hear back from Mediapolis School, who has set the numbers of what they estimated for their public assistance grant, and also what their local match would be, as well as I've heard that emergency management, secondary roads, it sounds like IT is going to have some expenses, and maintenance, and public health as well. So I think the board needs to decide how they want to utilize those funds.
So it's my understanding that, and thank you, Cheryl, for checking on that for us, that basically you take the entire payroll of the sheriff's office, public safety, and local health for the period in question, 25%, and that does not include any fringe benefits, longevity, something like that. It does include FICA taxes. Am I still on the right page, Krista?
Actually, when I talked to Jamie from ISAC, he said everything. We could take everything. I said even insurance, and he said even insurance. So 25% of everything that goes into public health and public safety payroll and fringe benefits.
Okay, where did I come up with that? Okay, what I've got here is that if you look at that frequently asked questions where it says, what expenses are ineligible, there's you'd sent me a link to that Iowa CARES Act frequently asked questions, dated August 18th. If you go to the second paragraph where it says what expenses are ineligible uses, and it goes down here, at the bottom it says employee benefits and employer taxes other than FICA.
Oh, okay.
And I, Jamie ought to know, I guess the only thing I look at is I look at it, if, there's a break there, they don't have them, all those listed on the same page, and you have to go to the second page to get those, where it says employee benefits and employee taxes. That's where I got my idea that or my belief that you couldn't charge for anything other than FICA. If I'm wrong, that's fine. Did those numbers, what those numbers you gave us, like 330,000, 150,000, was that it?
So what, and again, that second 142,000 is projected, but that, adding those two numbers together is 462,135, which, if the projection is correct, that would be about $31,488.
Okay.
Again, that was really by what Isaac had said about using all the benefits. If we're not able to use all that, that will still free up some more additional funds.
So if that can't be included, but the fringe benefits are included in those numbers, right?
Yes, everything's included in the, yep, everything's included in those numbers.
Okay, do you guys have copies of that frequently asked questions?
Yes, I got a copy right here.
Do
You're
you-
talking about the 818 one, and then there was,
Do you see what I'm
yes,
reading?
I see what you're talking about on the second page.
This says, these expenses are ineligible uses. And then it goes to their interoperability, but then it says employee benefits and employer taxes. other
Yeah,
than
because what
FICA.
it says under that two, then it flips over to the next page for two more items.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, if ISAC says I'm not right,
But we'd be better off just to leave it out just in case there's any question.
well, I would certainly want to get,
Yeah.
rather than ISAC, I would certainly want to talk to FEMA or somebody at the state. It's got what expenses are ineligible up at the top. If you go down here, and it's on the next page, read the last line.
Yeah. When did you get that?
Oh, it's dated 8/18, I got it last week, I think.
And,
Krista had it and sent me a link to it, and I downloaded it. Anyway, my understanding is that, so when we went through it and you got those numbers, did you take like the entire sheriff's budget office, administrative, clerical, field personnel? Does that include their entire budget?
Yes, I Kathy can help you see that better, but I asked her to give me all the departments, so I think that's what she gave me.
Yeah, she ran it for the public health and she ran it for the sheriff's
For
office.
total payroll, okay. So, then, I guess I would run it again with just the FICA taxes. And I don't know where these come from. I would want to be sure before we included that, because one of the things when we had to pass that resolution, it said anything we billed them for that we weren't supposed to get paid for, we have to pay them back along with any interest or fees that might be due. I do not want to put myself or this board or this county at the mercy of FEMA.
Well, and Tom, there is a thing, they call it base camp, where people, auditors and et cetera, are putting in questions.
Uh-huh.
So maybe it's a matter of putting that in as a question to get a clarification on that.
And we did, Cheryl, where'd you get the clarification on that question? I'd ask you about a clerical staff. I'd ask, since it says public safety employees, I'd ask Cheryl, I said, does that include, like, for the sheriff's office, clerical staff, people that aren't actually doing public safety? Not that they aren't doing public, you know what I mean, Kevin, that aren't in the field. And so she got back that it included the whole department, everybody that was in that department. So, so anyway, and I'm not sure where she got that. And the way this has been explained to me is that a lot of this is, you know, how much did you pay for hand sanitizers, for masks, for thermometers and stuff, for some IT equipment that isn't reimbursed by another grant or FEMA or somebody else that's not being reimbursed.
I've got Cheryl's email that she went to go look for. Here it is here. That's the one where she asked, and then they gave her places to check and reference back to, and
Okay, from Jennifer Mountcastle, contractor on behalf.
I think I had a copy of your email.
Of the
there,
Iowa
Cheryl.
State Department of Administrative Services,
That
State of
one
Iowa
right there.
CARES Act.
Because that's the one where she asked about the clerical.
And anyway, so yeah, I think I'd ask about that. But back to where anyway, so, but you can buy a lot of hand sanitizer and masks and thermometers for $500,000. So anyway, and supposedly you can just apply for this 25% of the payroll in this. And I believe, or I've been told that the state and the feds, you know, they know this is costing more money. You can't put your hand on all of it, and they're trying, you know, to take care of local governments, and that's a way just to pump money into local governments. You know, if you're gonna tell them it's 26%, then you're gonna have to explain all 26%. But if you tell them 25%, they're just gonna take that, and that's gonna be a way to get money into the local government. And if it's coming out of payroll for those two departments, it's gonna put it in general basic, where most of our expenses are. You know, it's the way I'm looking at this, and I'm more than ready to be shouted down if I'm wrong. But, so I think we wanna look at, we want this to cover that, you know, you might not get any, they said after this 494,000, you know, going forward. But they wanna put some money in the local governments. And we don't know some of the expenses and what this is gonna look like in another year. So I think at the end of the day, by the end of this year, we wanna bill them for the 494,000 and change, whatever it is. They might extend it for another year or another 6, who knows what they might do. But if we don't take it, they're not, there's no guarantee it'll be available after the first, you know what I mean, after that time period. And I'm not a huge fan of just saying take everything, but this is what I believe that money's for, is to help keep local governments healthy. And this is a way for them to put that money in our general basic account. So I have another question. When you go to the links that they sent you, you know, and there were state classifications, they had, and I'm just saying, if we can't take fringe benefits, it looks to me like we'll be short. Because I don't know, like I said, you can, for $20,000 or $30,000, you can buy a lot of sanitizer.
But what about a lot of the protective screens and stuff like what Rodney put
Well,
up down at Treasurer's
a lot
office?
of that stuff, but I'm just saying for $20,000 or $30,000, whatever that might add up to. And what'd this add up to, Krista, 430,000?
The total was 462,535. This is the remaining amount of $31,488.35.
So we'd have.
And I do have some of the.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I do have some expenses. So the emergency management at $1,402. Secondary roads had invoices for $2,241.66. And then we're still, I know that Colin had some IT expenses for doing the remote meetings, as well as Rodney and maintenance. And then public health did have an additional $6,024.96. Again, this is, you know, PPE, sanitizer. Now, the public health one, we will submit into the FEMA public assistance since we met the threshold. And so we may be reimbursed through them. So that may not be funds that could be utilized for this. And I do want to add, Mediacity School, because I reached out to the school, they did submit, because they had, they had sent in for, $29,205 worth of, FEMA grant, and so their remaining balance on that is, for them to match with $7,301, and so they submitted that in case the board, would look at, submitting their local match.
Okay, so the way it would sit now, if we took all that, we'd probably be somewhere around the $500,000 mark. But if we have to take out the fringe benefits, the health insurance and all that, I guess at the end of the day, we want to be at whatever that is.
Because the first round has to be submitted by September the 15th.
Yeah.
And then the second round, I think, has to be submitted by October 15th, I think.
Yeah, it's not very long.
Yeah.
One of the things I started to mention, Cheryl, when they sent us that link, you know, they sent us a link to some of the state classifications. And they had correctional officers, state with public safety. They're in a different department, for us, a different budget, so I don't know that we could do that. But I guess I guess I'm sitting here saying I would like to find out for sure if we can count those fringe benefits. If we can't, take those out, see where we are and what it takes to get us to where we can, to get us up to the number that they've offered us. Am I making sense?
Yep.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll shut up. That's.
No, it's. So Colin, do you have a list of?
$6,549.26.
It was what,
$6,549.26.
so far?
That's just a live stream, the audio. We got some of those little speaker phones that we're using for virtual meetings and that, and then camera and mounts and stuff. I got all the invoices here, so.
Okay. That's just what you've done so far.
And that's not including like the third floor court stuff.
Yeah,
or
the
anything like
courtroom.
that, so.
And the courtroom, is there any of that would go on this, or is that, some of that's gonna be coming out of the county attorney's budget? Because this can't be.
She does have part of that budgeted, but I haven't got the quote back from them yet. But if I were a guessing man, what they're going to quote is probably gonna go over what she has budgeted for
Okay.
third floor court, so.
Okay. If it's budgeted, you can't claim it, but if it's not budgeted, you can.
But if it goes over, it can still apply to this, correct?
Yeah, I think so, because it's
I would-
what
I
wasn't
would-
budgeted.
Well, and I don't know, I think that might be a question I would ask, say, if we have $20,000 budgeted for this, you know, and this is an acceptable, you know, use of the money, we have $20,000 budgeted, it's gonna cost $25,000. Is that $5,000 eligible? Or are they just gonna say, you had that audio-visual equipment budgeted?
Well, as a good example, like she had budgeted to kind of rework the audio equipment and stuff up there, but we're gonna do some more additional things since, you know,
Okay.
as part of live streaming some of those.
And outside the scope of what you were, okay, that, you see what I was saying? I'm not
Yeah.
sure, if somebody tells me that, you know, I have $20 to buy this, but it's gonna cost 25, I'm gonna go, that's
Can you
the way.
submit some of those expenses under the public assistance program
I don't know.
through the county?
What do you mean, public assistance?
It's the federal public assistance that you have to apply for before you can apply for this
Oh.
CARES money.
I don't know.
It's kind of like when we have a disaster and Brian has expenses from secondary roads and two rivers and et cetera. You apply for the public assistance grant. It's the same thing. It's governmental expenses.
Well, that's
Are
why
you-
they
are you-
keep talking about submitting to FEMA first.
Are
but
you
I've never
saying-
seen
That's to
anything.
FEMA.
You're
And
saying-
I've never seen any documents or anything for that, so I don't know who's in charge of submitting to FEMA.
In the past, I think individual departments have done their own. You know, like Brian submitted, secondary roads has an account. I've got an account, but I think public health is kind of underneath the whole county. And I'm not sure if like all the departments can apply for that, but one person would have to do the work to submit.
Who do we contact? See, you're asking perhaps that some of that audiovisual equipment might be covered by the public assistance grant? But it would have to be applied for that first, regardless, because they need to say no before these CARES says yes, right?
Well, the CARES Act, you can apply to both at the same time, from what I understand.
Okay.
Because they will reference back to FEMA to see if they are going to pay, because they said you don't have to have a yes or no from FEMA when you apply for the CARES Act. Because they will go back and look, but that's just that, but I never received anything in regards to FEMA, so I had no clue of who's supposed
But
to
you have to
submit.
apply for it.
Yeah, who's supposed to submit for that.
I can send you all the information about applying for the public assistance grant. That's been out for months,
That would be great.
so, I mean, I can forward that to you.
I guess, because if I have to submit it, then I guess I need to submit that, but I just, all I've heard about is the CARES Act, and I haven't seen any paperwork on the FEMA one, so.
And I know, other than I did, they said you were supposed to submit it to FEMA or whatever, because they weren't gonna pay for it if the other grant was gonna pay
Yeah,
for it.
or you submit it to both of them at the same time and see which one pays for it and which one, kind of like medical insurance.
Like what?
Medical insurance, you submit it to both insurance companies and see who's gonna fight to pay for it.
I mean, like Krista submitted the, I believe it was the hand sanitizer to the public assistance grant and was reimbursed for 75% of those costs,
Did,
a couple months ago, so.
will, if it reimbursed 75% of those costs, can the other 25% be applied to this?
Yes.
Okay. Kevin, didn't you got some grant money for some PPE, didn't you?
So, yeah, we got coronavirus emergency relief funding, and we got 58,000. That's PPE, and basically it just has to be used to limit or fight coronavirus.
Was that federal or state?
That's federal.
Okay.
But it doesn't allow for anything that was already budgeted. You can't supplant, and we had originally put in some personnel costs for transports, but in speaking with Doug and Coulter, their transports are very limited at this point, and they don't expect that to have a drastic increase. So we're actually filing an amendment on those personnel costs now.
Krista?
Yes.
You want to jump here and help straighten us out?
I couldn't hear you.
I said, feel free to jump in here and straighten us out, or straighten me out. I guess what I would like to see happen is to get an answer as soon as we can on those fringe benefits. Find out whether it just does, check on maybe overtime, health insurance.
I think overtime, you need to apply for the public assistance grant
Okay.
first. Anything for overtime.
I'm
They don't pay regular time, but they'll pay overtime.
Okay. Krista?
I was just gonna say, I think something with public assistance grant, I think at this point, you have to meet the $3,300 threshold. And I sent several emails and made multiple phone calls to Homeland Security. I don't know if they're working off site, but they've been very slow to respond. But if every entity is separate, which like emergency management is its own entity and public health is its own entity, each entity has to hit a $3,300 threshold, or they don't have to apply for public assistance grant. Public health will, because we have a $6,024, and the other one would be IT if they have the $6,549. Now, along with that same information I asked them about was, can I combine the two and just do an application for, say, IT and public health under that, and haven't gotten any response, because we already have the access in the portal. Like Gina mentioned, we did the sanitizer. So, that would be easier, but Terry's correct, you don't have to have an answer, you do that simultaneously, but you do have to, if you meet the threshold, apply prior to, or before you submit in for this, for the CARES funding. So that was, one of the things, as soon as I had an answer, to be able to help the other departments to figure out who needed to apply.
Krista, are you and Cheryl talking to the same people when we get answers?
Who knows?
Well, and that's,
Sorry for answering that for you,
no,
Cheryl.
no, I'm just throwing this up, you know, I'm curious about that. Maybe you could check, or Krista, who did you contact? Who have you talked to when you got answers?
So when I was trying to figure out about the grants and fringe benefits, I was having a hard time finding that. I made several emails, and then I got a hold of Jamie at ISAC. And I felt like, because he had, or that department, he was sending out the information of regarding the funds, CARE Act, and that's what, or CARE Act, that's why I reached out to him. Then I got a hold of Gerald Bellinger at Homeland Security, and then I don't know if he's working off site, so I got a hold of his boss, Katie, and neither one has gotten back to me about, because they're the FEMA public assistance people, so I was trying to figure out if I could submit all the departments under one, or how that worked. So that's what I've gotten hold of.
Gerald is historically buried in email. We've dealt with Gerald, he's very good to deal with, but oftentimes he's just, they don't have enough personnel. He's just inundated. So just to mention that.
He's doing all the PA stuff, yeah,
So,
and with the derecho.
well, they're still doing stuff with the last FEMA stuff, so I'm not shocked that that's been, we can reach out to him too if for some reason we could try to help facilitate something. I don't know that it would help, but I'll just mention it.
And I agree with Brian. Gerald's great to work with. I agree, there's so many things going on. I'm sure they're just spread way too thin. So he's usually wonderful and usually returns my calls, my emails right away.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, go ahead.
Let's do this. I apologize, I don't
Whatever
know
you
where
want
to
to do,
start.
Tom.
Krista, what would you like to come away from this work session with? What, sort of an
I'm
understanding? or-
sorry, did you say?
What, yeah, and I apologize. I haven't got a great handle on this. What would you like to come away from this work session with? What questions, or do you have, or what understanding do you want to walk away, you and the other departments?
So I guess we would be asking of the board that if there's any money left after payroll is reimbursed to the county, 25%, finding out whether or not the fringe benefits, the overtime, the health insurance, and to also see if the jail, any of that payroll is reimbursed. And then if there's funding left after that, to submit for emergency management, secondary roads, IT and maintenance, and public health, and potentially the board to consider if they want to reimburse any of the local match from Mediapolis School.
Okay. For that, we need numbers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we need to know what we can charge for and what we can't.
So obviously, we're gonna submit the bill for this whole thing, all we need is proof of what they're talking
Yeah.
about. It's gonna come out of
Well,
us no
they've
matter
got
what.
two different deadlines. They've got one for expenses from March the 1st to July the 31st.
For the same pot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other one is from September the 1st to October the 31st, I think. I think it's about, no, because it has to be submitted, that must just be 1 month. It must be just for the month of September, because it has to be submitted by October the 15th, I think. But then I'm unsure about the resolution we did, because some of them said you asked for the whole amount, and then Jamie comes back and says you should only submit the resolution for the amount that you're requesting at that time, so.
You say Jamie?
From
Who's
Jamie
ISAC?
Cashman, from
From
ISAC.
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 You Jamie Cushman?
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, he should
Well,
know.
I think the thing we really need to do is find out what we can bill for and what we can't bill for.
Well-
Yeah, and then just
Look,
add
sounds
all
to me
that up
like What we
together.
need is everybody to send her what they think they have for bills,
Exactly.
and we have to sort out.
And then we can
We
sub-
just have to find somebody to tell us, yeah, it's acceptable.
It needs to be itemized as they're putting the insurance.
Because I have to put that in the workbook, so.
We also need broke down which, if it's over, is it $3,300? That those bills have to go through, they have to be apply for the public assistance grant and either be accepted or turned down. I know you apply at the same time, but is that what I understand, is that there's a $33 deductible?
3,300.
3,300, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what is there anything you need to know we haven't talked about for the auditor's office?
No, I just have to enter all this stuff into the workbook once we figure out what we are submitting.
Well, it isn't
And
like
then-
you've got
and
an
then
election going on or
Huh?
anything. It isn't like you got an election going
No,
on.
no, and I got my own grants and other reports I have to do by September the 15th, so.
Are you gonna get extra help for your office during election?
Yeah, I've got one person, and I'll probably be looking for another one. Oh, I need somebody up at the counter to take care of everybody that comes in for in-person, just so we have,
And is that related to this
no.
pandemic? Not.
No,
Well,
the election
more-
stuff isn't
yeah.
included in this.
Diane,
Well,
come
there's a
in.
reason why we're short.
She won't come in.
Well, I'm just
No,
saying,
this
there's
is gonna be her
somewhere,
last
somewhere
election,
right in here,
working absentee board, too.
all costs related to, primary elections.
No, I
I
do that.
believe it's, when you get to the next one, it's gonna be cost for because through July 31st, it would just be the primary elections. So I don't think they're gonna take any election costs.
No, they've already stated in there that primary election costs are not included in that. We had a small CARES grant that
I'm
we
not
used.
accusing the election of taking their time. I'm accusing the COVID pandemic of causing you extra stress in your office because you've had to
Well,
station
and
people
see,
out and around and.
And I've always had it in my budget for temporary workers, part-time workers to help during the elections if needed, so.
Would a part-time salary to input numbers be reimbursable in that second round?
Good question.
I don't know. That would be another question.
What, does somebody
One of
else
the
want to
things-
take over the workbook?
One of the,
No, I meant
Oh, I'm
somebody
sorry.
under you.
Brian just
free up
volunteered,
your
I think.
bodies to do other stuff, that's what I'm getting at. I
But
mean, if
then-
we go hire somebody to handle FEMA, which we don't, but if we go handle somebody to handle FEMA stuff, that's a reimbursable
Mm-hmm.
process during a disaster. I'm just throwing it out there as manpower becomes an issue.
Can I charge the Secretary of State, for more manpower to deal with all the rules?
Oh, for all their, what,
They sit
yeah,
down
for
and
our
deal with
cybersecurity
all
stuff,
that.
yeah, I know.
well, I think we need an answer. Nothing wrong with ISAC, but I would like to get an answer from either the state or the FEMA or something about those, because it says right there, no additional benefits.
And time's ticking away, because that has to be submitted by September the 15th, so.
Exactly, 2 weeks from today.
Mhm.
So, we need an answer for that.
And just from the auditor's base camp, there's a bunch of questions that floated out there, and it just seems like it's all over.
Yeah. If we have that way, that we can get closer to knowing what, and I would ask, not just about the benefits, I would ask them individually, whatever you get, you know, does insurance count, longevity?
Well, and in that
uh,
workbook,
uh,
in that workbook, there is a fringe benefits page.
Yeah, I saw that
So
one.
that's why I'm thinking if it's not allowed, then why do they have it where you can calculate it?
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't, I'm just saying on their frequently asked question, it says no.
Mm-hmm, I know.
That's.
But then they have a page in the workbook that you can calculate your fringe benefits.
I have no doubt that there's two answers to that question.
Uh-huh.
But we need to, we can't come up with a very close cost without that. And if we can't, I would like to know about correctional officers. Because without that, we might have trouble reaching the 494,000. Because all the other, you know, you're gonna come up with 30, 40, maybe $50,000. But if your payroll only comes out to about $4,000, you're gonna be $50,000 short. So it would be nice to find out if the correctional officers, that it shows in the state that you sent me, Cheryl, that they sent you on their classification for state workers. It talks about correctional officers as public safety. If we had that, we could throw in some correctional officers for whatever, you know what I mean, to get us up to that number. But at the end of the day, we want to be at that number. At the end of the year, we want to be at that number. And I personally don't have a problem with helping Mediapolis if it's costing them $7,000. You know what I mean? If Krista reached out to the schools, and it says in there, you can't, like the hospital, it has to be a government agency to be eligible. And the county can help them.
The schools aren't gonna have their own?
They've already applied for what it was, it
And
was
the-
getting
and the-
29,000 or 30,000 of it covered.
And the list for this CARES Act, I mean, the cities even have their own funds.
Yeah.
The counties have their funds and the cities have their funds, but the schools are not listed in there.
Not the schools, not in this.
Jim and I sat through the Danville School opening session, their teachers, and the bus drivers, we sat in on that, and they're gonna have terrible expenses, extra expenses.
The schools can apply for that public assistance grant, Bob, as long as they meet the $3,300 minimum, which I'm sure they will.
That's what I would think.
But they can apply for that.
Talking about going out and reaching out and helping people, but
Well-
I have a feeling they have their own fund to go to.
Yeah, that's the public assistance grant, they could apply for that. Which
Krista?
some of the schools already have.
Krista,
Yes,
you reached out to the schools, right? And Mediapolis was the only one?
I did. I sent an email to all of them. Mediapolis was the only one that sent me anything back.
So I don't know why that would be, but
Danville, I know, has their own little gal in front of that.
Yeah. She was talking about that yesterday. A lot of expenses coming up.
I have,
yeah, Krista?
I don't mean to interrupt. I was just gonna say, no, I have to say, you know, I'm sure schools, it may have been, this is kind of difficult timing for the schools, and I think they're all working very hard on the cleaning and wanting to get schools opened up. So if the board wanted me to, I could reach back out to them again. I'm sure, like everyone else, we were just very busy and maybe Minneapolis, that was the reason, I think the only one I received and came back from.
I'd like to see her reach out to her.
Yeah, reach out to them again, because, and I don't know whether we'd be able to help Mediapolis or not, but we don't want to help one school and then have the other school say, oh, I didn't realize you were picking up the match funds or whatever that might be. So, yeah, if you could do that, Krista, that'd be great.
Okay, I can do that. And you guys don't think I'm wrong, so the local match is 25%.
Krista?
Picking up 10%.
Krista, we're having a hard time hearing you when you start talking to Gina.
Sorry, can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Gina, correct me if I'm wrong, so they submit for the FEMA public assistance grant. Their local match is 25%. The state's picking up 10%, so that would only leave that local amount to be 15% for the schools, is how I'm understanding that. Is that correct, Gina?
That's how I understand it also, yes.
Okay. Well, and we can wait and see, I guess my question is, we need answers for all the fringe benefits, and I would go through them one by one, just so you got the health insurance, you got whatever, the list there. Can we or can't we include them?
Well, I think we actually have to transfer the funds to them.
What do you mean?
Because it says, may a unit of local government receiving a fund payment transfer funds to another unit of government. And it says yes, for example.
Oh, about the schools.
Yeah, a county may transfer funds to a city, town, or school district within the county, and a county or city may transfer funds to its state, provided that the transfer qualifies as a necessary expenditure incurred due to the public health emergency and meets the other criteria of Section 601D of the Social Security Act outlined in the guidance. For example, a transfer from a county to a constituent city would not be permissible if the funds were intended to be used simply to fill shortfalls in government revenue or cover expenditures that would not otherwise qualify as an eligible expenditure. So it sounds like you actually have to transfer those funds to them and not pay for stuff for them.
Okay. Well,
If that's what I take it as.
the schools would be eligible if the funds were there. But we need to know on the fringe benefits, that's that's the biggest number we're gonna be looking at. And then did we send out an email to all departments and saying, have you got any expenses, for PPE or something like that, or all the PPE going through emergency management or through your office?
I think most of the PPE has come from Gina and Krista.
Okay.
I mean, we ordered a couple of thermometers and stuff at the very beginning, but I think everything else, except for what we're using for election expenses, but I think everything else we've got.
How about the plexiglass, the stuff Rodney put in? The face shield, you know what I mean.
He paid for that out of his budget, so.
Do we know how much that is?
I think Jack was gonna talk to him and find out how much he's spent on
Okay.
that, cause then he got the stand hand sanitizers out in the
Yep.
hallways, and I don't know if he already had those or if he I think he purchased those new, so.
'Cause
He's got that kind of stuff, and.
that would not have been in our budget, and that would be
Mhm.
PPE, so if we can get a number for that. Can we wait a week for the next meeting, or do we have to have a special work session Thursday or Friday?
This week?
Well, I'm just saying, to make sure we've got the right numbers. Hopefully, we would have answers to this. Is Kathy figuring out all the payroll?
She has ran distribution reports and stuff. I mean, the
Okay.
first one included fringe benefits, the second one just included wages. And then I'm looking down here and it says, does a city or county need to enter all timesheet information on the labor cost worksheet, or can a similar output be in an electronic format be provided? And it says the labor input, fringe benefits, and labor cost worksheet have been provided as a preferred format. So they have a worksheet in there for fringe benefits.
Yeah.
So-
I have her on here, by the way, if you have any questions for her.
Okay.
Kathy Titus.
Kathy Titus is on there.
Hi, Kathy. Never mind, I'm just aggravating you. Well, I guess what I'm saying is, so Kathy will know as soon as we get that answer. You can go to Kathy and say, include the fringe benefits, and don't include the fringe benefits, include this, and don't include that, whatever that might be.
Because she's ran both reports, so I think we can get both.
Okay, now, I'm assuming that through July 31st, she's using actual payroll? And then going forward, we're using budgeted?
Estimate,
Okay, okay. So everybody doesn't need that information? Or do they? I mean, as long as your office has that. I mean, what to do with the fringe benefits?
Oh,
Include them, not include them, to come up with the payroll?
yeah, because she can run the distribution reports for that and find out what was expended during that time.
And overtime, Jeannie, you said that's, if you have enough overtime over the $3,300, that's public assistance. You can do that. Can you apply for this for, if you have less than $3,300 in overtime?
I mean, if you have the overtime plus you purchase any PPE, you can lump that into
Oh,
one
okay.
project and
Okay.
submit that. So whatever your total expenses are, as long as they're over 3,300, you can submit that to FEMA for
Okay.
reimbursement.
Kevin, have you got overtime expenses that would be chargeable to this, to COVID, or not so much, or yes?
Very limited that's specific to it, and that would be due to some safety quarantines we've had to do, but it has been limited to this point.
Okay, okay. So the answer for the numbers for the, you need that. Kathy needs that. And then we'll need it from each department, and it sounds to me like we've got most of those. Colin doesn't have all those numbers yet. But this is through July 31st, so if you don't know what it costs, that's gonna go in the next one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we would have another month.
I have this.
He has what he's already spent for.
Yeah,
what's in
yeah,
there.
but anyway, for the rest of it, you would have another month for us, maybe hopefully get some numbers for what you'll be spending through December 31st.
They were supposed to give me some quote information yesterday. I reached out to them, they haven't got back to me yet, but I imagine the next couple of days they'll give me some good idea on
Okay,
the price.
but we're okay through July 31st?
Right.
Okay, and do we have everybody's, and I think Krista mentioned, or you mentioned, you've got the number for emergency management. I think secondary roads has got their number. And if yours is, and who else did we have? Maintenance. Jack or Rodney's gonna get that. So we should, sounds like we should have numbers by next Tuesday. How long is it gonna take to fill this out after? I guess I'm just saying, do we need to look at the numbers before next Tuesday, or
Yeah,
are
I
we
gotta, I
okay?
gotta figure out that worksheet because it makes it look like you have to put in every employee. And so yeah, I don't know, I'll figure that one out, so.
I'm not going there, everybody knows my opinion. Okay, so, anybody got any questions? I apologize if I wasted your time, I had a lot of questions. Krista,
Yes.
have you got any questions, or?
I don't think so. I'll keep following up with Homeland Security and see if they have to, each department has to do a separate public assistance grant, or if that's something we can lump together once we've met the threshold, but I'll get with them. So far, it's only Colin and IT that would meet that criteria, so unless someone else comes in with more than $3,300 in the department.
Okay, okay, thank you. Now that I've thoroughly confused everybody, we can probably end this work session if nobody has any questions. Okay,
Well, I think as long as everybody knows
yeah.
it needs to be done.
Yeah.
And you're under a timeline.
That's a goal, like I said, and I would like to ask about the correctional officers. So if it turns out when we've got all those numbers and it doesn't add up to the big number, where we might be able to go to come up with some extra expenses.
It would make sense that they be included.
Well, it is, and of course, it's the state. It's on theirs, but it's a different department here, so I don't know. But it would certainly be worth the question. Okay. Yep. We're adjourned. Thank you. I apologize.